I need to work on my
Communication.
exactly. I need to project. Okay, let's do this.
I need to project myself. I'm so small in life, but I'm bigger in the inside.
Oh, I snorted again.
That's the
What's wrong with
blurb in the back of your book. I'm small on the outside, but I'm big on the inside.
I can just like picture like someone doing that in a TV show. It's like tearing their shirt and like I'm oh my god.
You're like Wanda in WandaVision. You're just like, ah.
Or Doctor Strange when he does whatever he did in the trailer with the thing where he just goes.
We'll get there. We'll get there.
I'm reeling it back in.
Hello and welcome to the Nerdy Wordy. Today we have a lot to get to in a shorter amount of time than usual because today we have a trailer to talk about, a trailer that I've been fussing about since like the beginning of time, and one that I've been really anticipating for. I don't know about you, Billy. Have you been anticipating for this trailer?
This is what I've been waiting for since the last Spider-Man movie came out. So
I would totally agree with that assessment.
Right?
We are your hosts. I am Robert.
And I'm Billy.
And yeah, today we're talking about the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. This is an episode in itself because, I mean, this has been breaking records. I mean, we are recording this on a Friday. It came out on Monday, and it broke the record for Avengers Endgame for the most views of a trailer in a 24-hour period.
Right?
Ever. So,
and
it's the most talked about trailer in the history of trailers. So I feel like this is a very important episode for us.
Right, I agree. It's crazy. I mean, if you think about it, people who aren't Marvel fans now, I mean, who wouldn't be? No, but if you aren't, but you like the original Spider-Man and you grew up with the original Spider-Man, you're railed into this now too. Just like how Endgame railed people in who aren't Marvel fans. This is railing in people who aren't Marvel fans now, and now there's more Marvel fans because they probably loved Endgame. How could you not? So Marvel's great.
So I just want to say for the record that both of us actually did not watch the trailer when it first came out. I found that it was leaked online and I watched it and I sent it to you. And I was like, if you want to watch it, just let me know. Didn't know if you wanted to. Because I know, Billy, you are a very safe guarded kind of person with these kinds of things. You don't want things to spoil the movie, in which I totally understand. I mean, the trailer would have come out anyway, but
yeah, I mean, to be honest, the quality of the video wasn't that great, in the sense that it was a recording, it was a phone recording of a phone recording of a computer, I think.
Yeah.
So it was like
of an unfinished trailer with effects that were not completed yet.
So it was like a secondhand recording of like an unedited thing. So it wasn't that great.
Right.
But you got like a taste of what was going to come.
Yeah. You saw the details at least.
Yeah. Or you saw like the general stuff, I feel like. You didn't get the details because it was blurry.
You didn't get the minute details, but you got the details of like what the trailer was going to consist of. So that way you kind of like prepared later on.
You got the big twists at the end and stuff like that. So you got the majority of everything.
I did like that there was a lot of reaction trailers, not reaction trailers, reaction like videos online of like people reacting to the trailer, and it's like there were certain points that I was just like dying laughing every single time because it's like this like communal joy I feel from this trailer, with all these people like engaged and watching it at like the first time and just being surprised and happy and shocked and everything else. And it's kind of like, I feel like this is going to be a movie similar to Endgame where like we're going to have like a community just come together and just absolutely like burst with joy of all the stuff that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree. I think this is just going to be, for lack of a better word, it's a weird word to use, but like a wholesome movie where people are just going to go and enjoy the movie, you know? Like, even though there's so much writing on it, I think it's just people are going to go in being like, I can't wait to see this. It's going to be so much fun. Whereas I feel like people with Endgame were going like they want to see it. But I feel like everyone was like stressed going in. You know what I mean?
Mm.
I don't know,
They
stressed
were
is the
wondering
right
who
word.
was gonna die, what was gonna happen, like was the result. I mean, obviously, I think that people knew that the result was going to be flipped from Infinity War, where like we were gonna get everybody back, because obviously they're not gonna kill half of their characters.
Including
But they were like,
Spider-Man.
who's gonna die, what's gonna happen, blah blah blah, that kind of thing.
Exactly. It's just a different atmosphere.
Hmm.
And this is gonna be a big one, I think.
What I took away, and actually, like someone had said this, and I kind of realized that this was true. One of the people who I saw in a reaction video said that like what was weird about it was that it was a studio giving us what we wanted. And it usually doesn't happen. And I'm like, I agree, because like we got WandaVision and we didn't get what we wanted. Loki was a little different because we didn't expect what was going to happen, but we still got something that satisfied us. But it's like a studio giving us something that we wanted. Like they actually listened to fans, saw that like a Spider-Verse type of movie was very popular, and they were like, you know what, we should do that for the live action one. And they did. And it's like, there you go. You listen to us, and guess what? We loved it so much that we just broke the internet. So like I think it mattered.
Let me ask you a question though. So Marvel's notorious for planning ahead, and you have quoted Kevin Feige saying that they plan like 5 years ahead. So do you think they actually
Mm-hmm.
had it planned that they were going to do this, and then it just ended up becoming popular online? So they indirectly gave people what they wanted because they planned what they wanted beforehand, or do you think they heard the thing and then actually gave people what they wanted, like in the preemptive sense or the reactive sense?
So I know they plan. So let's say, for example, they do have the 5 year. Let's say it's like a stable 5 years for every single time. So that was like 2014. They plan out what the Infinity Song is going to be up
Mhm.
until Endgame. So when they're doing Winter Soldier, when they're doing Guardians of the Galaxy, they're planning on like what the future will hold for the MCU. Let's say that they do that.
Mhm.
Right now, let's say, for example, 2020, 2021, because of the COVID and everything, like, they obviously were supposed to do it last year. They didn't, so they do it this year, but still, they have that 5 year period. So it's like 2015 when they did Age of Ultron, the end of phase two and the beginning of phase three. Phase three is when we had all the big things happen, and then the conclusion with Far From Home.
Yep.
I don't know about like if they were going to do a thing with like the live action multiverse with Spider-Man, because they need to do deals with Sony, they need to do deals with the Fox franchises, with the Fantastic Four, with the X-Men, with all these different characters. And I think that was like something that was up in the air. So I don't know if they were like sure that was going to happen, but I feel like, they had that in their back pocket. Like, well, we have a plan for if it doesn't happen versus something that does happen. And I feel like they were leaning towards something that does happen because I feel like, the mouse had a lot of control of a lot of properties already. So it's like they're just going to take more control of like Fox and like agreements with Sony and everything. Because remember, like back in 2019, 2020-ish, there was like disputes that like Sony and Disney were like conflicted about making more Spider-Man movies.
Yeah,
And there was like
I
up in
remember
the air
that.
that like maybe Tom Holland Spider-Man wasn't going to exist anymore. And then they actually reached an agreement. So I feel like, they have it in the back of their minds, like, oh yeah, we have a plan, a thought of like what we're gonna do. But until like it's like finalized, like with Fox, like with Sony, I feel like there's not going to be a surety because they have their own plans in mind. Because they have like a ton of stuff from like Disney Plus shows and movies that they're gonna do. It's just
Yeah.
like the stuff that's other properties. I feel like that's like, what are we going to do there? And I think with the popularity back in 2018 with Into the Spider Verse, I feel like Sony and Marvel kind of came together and were like, hey, we saw the popularity with this movie. What if we did with this? And it's like, well, actually, we're trying to do something about the multiverse. So what if we did something for a live action Spider Verse with the multiverse that we're trying to do? We're trying to get more of the Fox franchises back into us. So maybe it's like it was like a happy way to like merge everything. But I don't know if that was like the set plan. Unless it was, and it's just like, an amazing miracle that everything happened the way it happened and like things worked out perfectly, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they had to have known at the moment that you mentioned when Tom Holland wasn't gonna be Spider-Man anymore for Marvel, like when that whole dispute was happening. I feel like, well, so I saw an interview from him way back when, um, where he was saying, he was saying that he saved Spider-Man. He was joking, but that's what he
Mhm.
said. Um, and he was saying how like there's a lot of really cool things to come with this character. We got a lot of cool things,
Mhm.
and I feel like within that deal where they finally reached the agreement, because there hasn't been any problem since, as far as we know. I feel like in that moment they
Mhm.
planned this.
Yeah.
I think they had to have at that moment.
Because Sony must have been like, what do you want? Because like obviously they have a shared amount of like the profits from each movie. So they must have been like, Sony's like, what do you want to do? Because obviously like Spider-Man's one of the most popular Marvel characters out there.
Yeah,
They're like, what do you want for us to do? Because we already have our Sonyverse that we're trying to do with our stuff. What do you want to do for your stuff? And Marvel's like, well, we saw the success of Into the Spider Verse. What if we did something similar to that, but a live action version? And we got like X, Y, and Z involved, and all this stuff. And they're like, that's interesting. And they must have, and of course, there's obviously like marketing people and people in finances are like, is this like something that you want to invest in? I feel like that was the pitch that they had to do. Is like, do you want to invest in what we're trying to do? Do you think it'd be profitable? And I feel like they were like, you know what, let's try it out.
mm,
And I think that since it showed that it succeeded, like I think that they made the right choice.
I think so too. Because I would be upset if this didn't happen. Now that I know it happened, you
Yeah.
know.
Just to have a report like they plan to do a live action version with Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, but guess what? They didn't because Marvel is too much, too much for Sony.
And I wonder, there's a distinct feel between Sony Marvel and Marvel Cinematic Universe Marvel.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder how they're gonna integrate the two.
Well, I've heard from the president of Sony Entertainment that this movie is going to help introduce some clarifications on the Sonyverse Marvel stuff versus the MCU stuff. So there's going to be some clarifications with this movie that's going to come out about how they're going to integrate the two because obviously like they've kind of teased that a little bit with the Morbius trailer with Vulture being in there where we see Spider-Man in the background being called a murderer. If you haven't seen the trailer for Morbius, you should. By the way, CinemaCon did release some footage of Morbius at the
Gotcha.
convention.
Okay.
I did not see it myself. I didn't see anything about it. But they did show it. So obviously they are invested in the Morbius movie. I don't think they're gonna cut anything that they got from the trailer, or else they'd like have a little bit of backlash. Like, why would you put that in the trailer if it's not real? Blah blah blah. So I feel like it's. I think that like what they're gonna do, and I know that the Venom movie is gonna come out in October. I don't know if it's gonna be the same as the Sonyverse for Marvel as it is with like Morbius, because there's like Venom was its own thing, but it's still in the realm of Spider-Man, as is Morbius was.
Mhm.
I don't know how they're going to integrate it, if they're going to integrate it. It's kind of weird because like they haven't revealed it until the Morbius trailer that like there's like hints of the MCU being involved. So I'm not entirely sure. But that's why they're saying that there's going to be clarifications with the No Way Home movie, that there's going to be clarifications of how like the two are going to blend, I feel.
Hmm. It's gonna be interesting what they do with it. I with the clarifications, whatever that means. um, and just in general what they're gonna do because there's so many ways they could go about this, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I got no word. I mean,
I think,
it's like the movie that everyone wanted growing up.
yeah.
Like for like every, I feel like I think most Marvel fans probably really feel nostalgic. Older Marvel fans, I should say, probably feel nostalgic towards the Tobey Maguire Spider-Man. 'Cause we grew up
Hmm.
on it, like that was like the first superhero movie. It wasn't the first superhero movie, but it was like one of the first really big ones. I feel
Hmm.
like mainstream ones.
Yeah.
And now looking back, I still love the movies. They're still nostalgic, but now it's going to be integrated into this whole thing that I currently love, and
Hmm.
it's. I'm
I'll
happy.
take the words from what Kevin Feige said, that Kevin Feige, who's the chief creative officer at Marvel Studios, he said that he wanted an integrated universe, interchanged and like connected with like all these different characters in the same way that Stan Lee and Steve Ditko and Jack Kirby all originated with back in the 60s when they created the Marvel Comics universe. They want to do the same thing that they're doing now with the MCU. And I think that like that's so true of like their expansion into Fox and negotiating with Sony and everything else. And I think this movie starts to kind of bring everything kind of full circle, you know?
Yeah, it's there's nothing else like it.
Mm-mm. Let's talk about the trailer.
Okay.
This is long for a trailer, by the way. This is like a 2 minute 55 second long trailer,
Yeah.
which is unheard of for like a teaser trailer of this kind of magnitude and with so much detail involved in the plot.
Right. Because they reveal so much,
Mm-hmm.
but they also reveal so little.
Well, I mean, like 2 minutes and 55 seconds versus like, I don't know how long, probably like at least a 2 hour long movie. Like, there's so much detail that we don't know about
Yeah.
in that time frame.
Okay, let's get started. What do you want to bring up first?
I want to go in chronological order. I know most people who have been doing reaction videos go through chronological order, and I know we have kind of strayed away from that for like shows, but that's a show. That's like a long one. This is
Yeah.
pretty short. And I think there's a lot of details that kind of like help to progress the story because as soon as you start the trailer, it goes up and up and up and up and up and up and like exponentially like just accelerates.
Exactly.
So
Okay,
I
so
feel like starting at the beginning would be perfect.
perfect. Let's start.
So the beginning of the trailer, and by the way, I'm just gonna say for the record that like I have gone through frame by frame by frame by frame of this trailer. So like I'm pretty detailed. Like I've watched this trailer like several dozen times as like a not like a euphoria, but like a lethargic kind of thing. Like, yes, this trailer that I've been waiting for so many months is finally here.
That's awesome. Let's be honest. You did it specifically for our fans. That way you could break down this video really well.
Let's go with that. Let's go with that. Sure. It's not because of my obsession with Marvel or anything. It's
No,
just because
for the fans. The fans.
um so the beginning of the trailer starts with MJ and Peter on the rooftop and they're talking. There's like a New York Post article about Spider-Man's spider minions and how he's able to manipulate female I guess people. I don't know if it's spiders or people, they didn't really specify, but it's like he's able to manipulate females and hypnotize them in a trance to lure them, which spiders actually do. Some spiders actually do that.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense.
And it's like obviously a nice cute moment with MJ and Peter Parker, but like obviously it's in the midst of this chaos that we have seen, that like the ramifications of the end of Far From Home where his identity gets revealed by J. Jonah Jameson, who, by the way, is the same one from the Sam Raimi trilogy. Never forget that. And I think that was kind of like the hint that was dropped into the bucket in the beginning, for us to be like, in multiverse, that makes sense. But probably it's not going to be the same. It doesn't look the same, but we'll get more into that aspect. So he's swinging through. He has to like escape. Everybody who's like trying to crowd him, trying to be around him, because like his face and everything is in Times Square. Is like being projected everywhere. Like everybody now knows who he is, and you're seeing how his life is kind of turned upside down because like it's not just like he's now known as Spider-Man the hero. People are like now taking sides like Mysterio was murdered by Spider-Man or Spider-Man was just trying to save everybody because Mysterio's bad. There's now factions in basically the MCU now on Earth that like people are like, one way or the other. And you see that because like the police show up to his house, they're questioning him. They're like, hey, you killed Mysterio. He's like, no, I didn't. It's the drones. It's like, well, the drones are yours. They're given to you by Tony Stark. And it's like, that's a good point, but it's not all the facts,
They weren't mine at that moment. I gave them away.
Right. And I know a lot of people online are talking about the fact that, like, I don't know if you remember in the trailer, but like there's the guy that slams all the stuff on the table in front of Peter when he's in police custody.
Okay.
People are saying that that is Charlie Cox's Daredevil.
Interesting.
There are rumors out there that Charlie Cox, who played Matt Murdock Daredevil in the Daredevil Netflix series, is going to be in this movie as Peter Parker's lawyer.
That would be a twist. Huh.
Mm-hmm.
Because that would connect it to more than people previously thought. They'd be connecting it to everything.
Right. Well, this is unconfirmed.
Yeah.
We didn't get to see the guy's face, and people are like, his face is cut off. It's like, I'd like to wait and see that it is Charlie Cox. I mean, obviously, that's not going to be the biggest twist of the movie, but
Yeah.
it would be a nice little detail.
Nice little subtlety, right?
Right. So we see the ramifications that are happening with, like, MJ and Peter and Ned all getting, like, yelled at school, outside of school, inside school. Everybody's having their phones, saying like, "Oh my God, it's Peter! He's Spider-Man!" His life's basically like flipped upside down. His Aunt May is getting questioned, Ned is getting questioned. Like, people are starting to get like not physically hurt, but like mentally, emotionally hurt because of like the ramifications that his identity was revealed. And he's trying to figure out a way to fix all that. He wants to fix it. He wants to make sure that nobody will remember that he's Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. So what does he do? Naturally, you go to Doctor Strange.
All right.
The one person who would probably be able to help fix anything in this magnitude.
Yeah.
And this is where we get into the very big details of the whole trailer. So we start off by seeing that the Sanctum is cold. And I've heard a lot of people saying like, oh, it's kind of like similar to how a Harry Potter spell could like misfire and something could happen that could go awry and like change things. And that could be what's happening.
Isn't it? Sorry to jump in. But when it's covered in snow is before he does the thing, before he does the spell.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is a misfire
from another spell that they might have been doing. But we don't know why he looks like that. And it helps to explain the Funko Pop that we had seen. Like he's in like the snow gear and everything. He's in the boots. Like it makes sense now because like obviously we knew this was going to be set around like the holiday season, around Halloween, Christmas, Thanksgiving, stuff like that. But it now made sense because he's in the trailer having these clothes on. So
check one.
So he comes to Doctor Strange. He's just like, hey, like my life is all flipped upside down because of Mysterio revealing my identity. Could you be able to make sure that never happened? And he's like, yeah, I could do that. I'm going to guess like in the interim between like the scenes in the trailer, we'll see like, yeah, there is some particular spell that we could be able to do. It's called this, blah, blah, blah. And then Wong comes up to him and he's like, don't do that spell. Like, that's dangerous. He's like, fine, I won't do it. But of course, Doctor Strange, being the egotist that he is, and this is something that a lot of people were talking about online as well, is that they're saying that this is not like Doctor Strange. Like, Doctor Strange is not behaving like himself in this trailer. And I think, no, I don't think so. I think he's exactly performing as the way that Doctor Strange would. Because I think, if you remember the Doctor Strange movie, he was so good at being a surgeon that he like would play music when he was doing brain surgery, and like he would be like having fun and everything else. He'd be like just trying to be charming and blah blah blah.
Yeah.
I think that's the same thing that he's doing here. He just feels like, since he saved half the universe, because again, I think that he did that. Even though it's the set timeline, I think that in his mind, he thinks that he helped save half the universe. He's like this very powerful master of the mystic arts, almost like the sorcerer supreme, that I think in his mind, he can basically do anything. I feel like he has a lot of confidence in himself. A lot of his ego is kind of backed up by that. So I feel like it's still in character for him to do this. I don't think it's out of character for him to do this for Spider-Man. And I guess, like, since he had also explained that, like, he helped save half the universe with Doctor Strange, that, like, he probably could be able to help him. He said he's beyond calling him sir,
Yeah. I mean, I agree, because I did originally think it was weird that he would do this type of thing. Only because I agree. In the Doctor Strange movie at the beginning, this fits his character. Like,
Mhm.
like I think it. I agree with everything you just said. But the way he handles himself in Thor Ragnarok, and the
Mhm.
way he handles himself, I think, in Infinity War, and we don't really see him in Endgame too much.
Mhm.
We don't hear him talk as much. I think then it seems like he changed to more um what's the word I'm looking for? Rule abiding, kind of. Like,
Mhm.
he seemed like very formal in nature, especially in Ragnarok. When he's like, okay, you guys are here, Loki can't be here, he's gotta go. And like
Mhm.
he handled it like very matter of factly and like very logical and very planned, you know what I mean? Like he seemed
Mhm.
like he was less what's the word I'm looking for? Less impulsive, right? So
Mhm.
I felt like it didn't really go agree with that, because it seemed more of like an impulsive thing, like, yeah, I hope, let's give it a shot, kind of thing.
Right.
But I agree, because maybe he just got more confidence now, so he's as confident in this. He's in confident. He's as confident in this as he was in surgery originally. So now he's starting to highlight his character
Mhm.
or
I
different
think, like,
qualities.
when he started off doing the mystic arts in Doctor Strange and in, like, Thor Ragnarok and Infinity War, he's learning. He was still learning how to do stuff.
Mm,
But I think now that he has, like, something to back it up, like, I saved half the universe. I made sure that we helped defeat Thanos. I think that because of that, he gained that ego that he once had as a surgeon, and now he feels like he could do anything. Like, he's like very nonchalant when he's talking to Peter. Like, he's like throwing the sparks into the fire. He may have done the snow in the sanctum himself. We don't know, but I feel like he feels like he's mastered enough of it and he knows enough of it that he can do a lot of stuff.
yeah, I agree with that assessment.
So I don't know if you noticed, but like the mug that Doctor Strange is holding. I don't know if you read what that said.
I did not.
It said, "Oh, for Fox's sake,"
it's kind of funny.
because it's a clever way to say the F word, but it's also a clever
An
nod
homage.
to Fox
Uh huh.
Fox franchise. Because it had a little fox on there
Uh huh.
on the mug.
That's clever.
So, um, so then he's like, "We're gonna do this spell." So they go down into the basement. I'm guessing of the sanctum, and he starts performing the spell to have everybody forget that Spider-Man is Peter Parker. And by the way, it's in character that he's doing this because, like, in the comics, he actually does perform this spell for Peter. Because in the comics version of Civil War, Peter, in a way of showing allegiance to Tony Stark and his faction, he reveals his identity to the world. But then, because his Aunt May is in the hospital because of gunshots, he feels like he needs to kind of go back and reverse course on that. So he asks Doctor Strange, and Doctor Strange is helped by Tony Stark and Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards, to help make sure that the whole world forgets that he is Spider-Man because he had said it publicly on national TV that he was Spider-Man.
Okay.
So Doctor Strange actually does perform the spell for Peter, so that way, he can be able to forget. Everybody will be able to forget that he's Spider-Man. So he actually does do this in the comics. But the thing was is that it was not really. It was because of the fact that like Doctor Strange was going to help him at first, then like Peter messed things up with it, so like he decided not to help him, and then like it was a weird story arc in this story called One More Day, where like after that happened, Peter made a deal with the devil, Mephisto, that everybody would forget that he was Spider-Man. But in exchange for doing that, he would have to break up his marriage with Mary Jane. And people didn't like that because a lot of things got retconned and reversed in the Spider-Man mythos, and people were backlashing on it. So then they had to like do it another way, and that's how we get the spell with Doctor Strange and everything. It was a weird little arc that happened with Doctor Strange and Peter. It was not very popular.
It doesn't sound very popular, but it does
No,
sound like it's
especially
gonna mess with Peter and Mary Jane's relationship. So
yeah, and that's why in this movie we're seeing that as Doctor Strange is performing the spell, he's making everything work. Peter goes into the little area where the spell's being performed, and he's like kind of tampering with the spell. He's like, "Well, MJ needs to know because like she's gonna forget everything that we've been through." And oh, my friend Ned, like my best friend, he should probably know. And then it's like, oh wait, but maybe Aunt May, and this is kind of like tampering with the spell because
Happy
like
Hogan,
obviously like
Nick Fury,
different variations of the Avengers are not going to remember who I am. So it's like it's very important for him to make sure he still has at least some people. But of course, that's not how the spell works, as Doctor Strange said. Mm-hmm. And I do think it's kind of weird that like the tampering of what Spider-Man is saying in the spell tampers with how the spell works and how it kind of misfires. I don't think that's actually how it happened. I think it's because the events of Loki kind of made the multiverse happen, and what Doctor Strange is doing is basically like a manipulation within the multiverse that's like not supposed to happen if the multiverse existed. Because remember, it's only supposed to be like one timeline, but now we have like multiple timelines. So it's like the spell's kind of confused on like what timeline and what universe is Peter Parker and blah blah blah. So I think that's why the spell got messed up. I don't think it's because of Peter saying stuff, because like I don't think that's how it works.
I don't know. I mean, I can't tell if Peter was just saying stuff or he was like messing with stuff, and we just couldn't tell.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But we see like the Flash and like everything like goes awry and like then collapses in on itself, and it's like, well, what just happened? It's never good.
No.
And that's where we kind of pick up with the trailer, because the trailer just like goes off with this, where we have Spider-Man is falling through New York, and like it looks like Doctor Strange-esque, where like the whole city is getting like warped in space and everything else. And like you see the scene with Doctor Strange and the train near the Grand Canyon with Spider-Man, and people were saying that like he's kind of antagonistic in that scene. It looks like, I don't know if he's being antagonistic to Spider-Man. I don't know if
like it looks like they're
happening,
fighting, right? Kind of.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're fighting though, because I feel like Doctor Strange would have a much better way of fighting against Spider-Man, because Spider-Man is not as powerful as Doctor Strange, as we see in one scene in the trailer where basically he takes Spider-Man's astral form out of his body, and he does that. I mean, like, he's very powerful. I don't think that like manipulating the train around is going to change anything, but I don't know. We're just seeing like one scene occur.
Doing it for dramatic flair.
Right.
What's the win with style?
By the way, when you see when he gets his astral form pushed out of his body, you saw that Spider-Man is holding a box, right?
Yes.
On his hand.
It's like a little black box, right?
It's like a greenish kind of box.
Is it green? Oh, okay. It's a dark color.
Yeah, it's a darker color. And it's basically like, why does he have a box? and people are speculating that's like the whole plot of the movie is like he has the box which has all the villains in there, and he wants to make sure that they safely are, they're not going to die, because if Strange sends them back to their own timelines, then he's going to have them die, and he doesn't want that. So I think that's like the conflict in the movie with the blocks. I'm not sure. That's just speculation of what's happening online.
How'd they come to that conclusion? I think that's kind of out there.
Well, I'll get there.
Okay.
There's things in the trailer that you'll see.
Okay.
So we go through those scenes, and then we see Happy is in the car, right? And we see that there are people like pointing guns at him for some reason. We don't know why. Maybe it's because he's an ally of Spider-Man or whatever. I'm not sure. It's kind of weird. We see one scene where we see electricity hitting some cop cars. You saw that one? And it looked like there was like a sandstorm like going around it as well. It wasn't just pure lightning, it was like the sandstorm.
Oh yeah.
So it seems like to me, two villains are kind of combining together, Electro and Sandman. Sandman has not been confirmed as a villain in the Spider-Man movie. We don't know if Thomas Hayden Church, who played Sandman in Spider-Man 3, is going to be in this movie. It's a good bet, seeing the trailer, seeing the sand go around the electricity, that he might be in there, but I don't know. Did you see in that scene as well that like there was like a dailybugle.net like TV van?
I think so, because I also saw a picture of that scene. So I think so.
Yeah, it's on the right side of that scene where there's like a dailybugle.net like TV, broadcasting van.
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. I don't know why there's a TV van if this is a dailybugle.net website. I don't know how prominent it has become in the time between Far From Home and No Way Home. It's interesting that he gets his own van for some reason, but
that's a good point. I don't
know. And then we get to a part in the trailer where it kind of helps to understand why that cube that we talked about is so important, because there's one scene where it's a very brief scene. It's like maybe like 2 or 3 seconds, but it's Peter in like a dark room, and something like comes out from behind him and tries to attack him and hits like a wall basically. And people, and I did actually freeze frame and go like frame by frame of the scene. If you look at the scene, Peter, like the thing comes at Peter and it hits the wall, and the wall has like an orange glow as if there's like a spell there blocking, it's kind of like, a makeshift like invisible wall by a spell, right? And you can kind of see an outline of a very large figure. Most people are saying that it's the Lizard. Some people are saying that it's Venom. I'm going to lean towards the Lizard at this point until I get evidence to say that it's Venom. I don't think it's going to be Venom. But it's just a really, really quick scene that kind of shows that, like, okay, well, we have the Lizard locked up in the spell kind of like cell that he can't get out of. And that's what speculation is about the box. Like, the box holds all those villains in there, and you have to kind of like Ghostbusters those villains to those other dimensions back to like wherever they were. Back to, yeah.
Okay.
So if you go to the trailer, and you'll see that little quick 2-3 second scene of Peter getting almost attacked by the Lizard, supposedly.
That's interesting. This still seems like a far jump in plot.
Right.
To me.
I'm
not sure.
And then we get to the end of the trailer where Doctor Strange is trying to tell Peter, like, you're trying to live 2 different lives. The longer you do it, the more dangerous it's going to become for you, which is kind of true. Like, Doctor Strange, Iron Man, Captain America, they all don't have secret identities. Peter's the only one who has a secret identity.
Is there any superhero
And
in the Marvel universe that has a secret identity anymore?
in the MCU,
Yeah, I don't
no,
think so, right? Not
I
that I
don't
can
think
think
so.
of.
No. No, I think everybody's like a public figure.
Yeah, maybe Ant-Man, but I mean,
No,
he's not
actually,
real.
no, because remember him and the Wasp, like you see, like when like it becomes big, like Wu goes and it's like, oh, Scott's out now, and he's kind of trying to get Scott for, being out of his house under house arrest. So
Well,
Scott Lang is known to be Ant-Man.
well, I feel like isn't necessarily like a secret identity. It's just that he's not very well known.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know. Or Ant-Man. Um,
um,
continue.
but then we get to the big part of the trailer, the end parts, where I think there's been reports that there's going to be like this big battle, and it's going to be like the most intense battle in any superhero movie, as I've heard. And I think it's because of this bridge scene. And we see one scene where we have a pumpkin bomb comes onto the bridge. And of course, it is the pumpkin bomb from the Green Goblin from the first Spider Man movie in the Sam Raimi trilogy.
Oh yeah.
It's clear as day. You can't mistake it.
No.
It's not like a variation on it. And you hear the laugh of the Green Goblin of Willem Dafoe. So it's basically confirming that the Green Goblin is in the movie, which is
Crazy.
something that if you haven't really been following all the channels is pretty surprising.
I had no clue what to expect going into this, so everything was surprising for me.
And then we get like the big reveal of the tentacles coming out, and we get to see Alfred Molina's Dr. Octopus say hello, Peter, and then he changes into the Iron Spider, and probably a fight will ensue.
Oh yeah.
What did you think of this whole sequence of events?
I don't know, in awe, I guess. I mean, all these people coming together, and I don't know, just like my childhood movies that I loved. I hope Tobey Maguire's in the movie. Coming into the movies I love now, and like everything. Oh my god, it's like so nostalgic. I don't know. It's so weird. I can't describe it. It's annoying, but it's gonna be great. No matter what happens, it's gonna be great.
So,
And I was surprised by the Iron Spider suit as well.
okay.
I'm not sure why. I was kind of expecting a different suit, but I'm happy he has the Iron Spider suit. It makes most sense. It's
Well,
his
you
best
saw
suit.
you saw the black suit when he was running through like the homeless shelter. You
Yeah.
saw that he had like the black suit like when he ran through it.
Yeah, so not sure why he has the black suit then, but we've seen it at least.
So I will want to say that there was like a little bit of a breakdown of that scene where Dr. Octopus says hello, Peter, and then we see Peter Parker change into the Iron Spider suit. People are saying that shot of Spider-Man on the car changing into the suit is not the same shot as when Dr. Octopus is saying hello, Peter. Like they're saying that Dr. Octopus is not talking to Tom Holland's Peter Parker because it's a farther away shot. It's not an establishing foreground shot that you would have for a superhero being, talked to by a villain. It looked more like a background, secondary shot.
Interesting. So they think.
So the speculation is that like Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man is right there in the front, and then we get to see Tom Holland change in the Iron Spider suit, and that's where the fight ensues, where we have Doc Ock and Green Goblin and all the other Spider-Man kind of involved in the fight.
That'd be awesome. I'm just geeking out right now. Like I'm here purely just because I want to hear all this stuff.
My question, this is the question that I have, is there are reports that Kirsten Dunst, who played Mary Jane in the Sam Raimi films, Emma Stone, who played Gwen Stacy in the Amazing Spider-Man films, there are reports that they are in the movie. I don't know how that's going to happen. Like you know the trope of what happened in the Sam Raimi and the other Spider-Man films. Like, there's like we see the villain and they go blah 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 do stuff, and at the end they take the love interests and they capture them and they take them somewhere, and that's where like they have the main fight. Are they going to do that again with this movie, where they're going to have all three love interests come together of all three cinematic movie franchises, and then all three Spider-Man have to rescue them? You know?
Technically, Marvel hasn't done that plot yet.
No. I mean, they kind of did with like Iron Man 3, for example.
It's true. They kind of did that in the Iron Man movies, I think, in general. Now that I
Yeah.
think about it.
Mm.
I don't know. That's a good question.
Because I don't know if it's like, if they're just going to be in for one scene. Are they going to be involved more deeply in the movie? Like, I've heard reports that they are filming. I'm not entirely sure if it's for this film, but no.
I don't know. It'd be interesting. And I'm also interested to see how a female Spider Woman, will integrate into this, because they're filming one of those.
I don't know if there's going to be a Spider Woman in this
I was-
movie. I think it's going to be the three.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think in this movie, but they are filming one in the future, right? Isn't that
Mhm.
set? So at some
believe
point
so.
they'll have to integrate it in, and I think it'll be interesting to see how they do that.
I think would be really cool if they did a fourth Spider-Man, Miles Morales. I feel like that would be even cooler. Just to
That'd
do
be
a
a
fourth one.
huge twist.
Because we know Miles Morales kind of exists in the MCU by a deleted scene from Spider-Man Homecoming, but he's never been actually like confirmed to be in the MCU.
Interesting. That'd be something.
That would be something.
That'd be something. Now I have a question to ask you.
Yeah, you had your Doctor Strange question, right?
I got a couple. Should I just rapid fire them and you can take them down in the order you please, or should I go one at a time?
Let's just do one at a time.
Okay, so the first one is, which you've already kind of answered. I've texted about it,
Mhm.
but I have another piece of information that goes kind of goes against what you said for the answer to it. So I kind of want to see if we'll see. So Doctor Strange has the Eye of Agamotto, and
Yes.
we were talking about how you were saying how you don't think it has a time stone in it, and that's completely justifiable. I mean, it shouldn't, right?
Mhm.
Unless something with the multiverse pops a new one in, they have a ton.
Mhm.
Or the TVA had a ton. But the thing is, I guess, I haven't rewatched Infinity War. Check this out. But apparently, the Eye of Agamotto necklace itself got destroyed.
Mhm. Yeah.
But how does he have one? Unless they made a new one.
Yes, this is the discrepancy that people are saying, like, is this really Doctor Strange or is this someone being looking like Doctor Strange or whatever?
Wanda.
So I attribute it to either A, he has an actual thing, like an actual mystical object in the Eye of Agamotto, because obviously I think he could be able to conjure up another one and he can wear
Another
it.
necklace,
And there
you
might be
mean?
some, yeah. And then maybe some other mystical objects in the amulets. I'm not sure. That's one possibility. Or B, I think it's kind of like similar to how in trailers they won't give away certain details, so they'll change the way a character looks in the trailer based on an establishing shot in a scene, but then have it be different in the actual movie. So I
Kind
think
of like Thor's
maybe it could
eye.
be that as well.
Like when he lost an eye in the. Sorry, I keep talking over you. In the trailer for Thor Ragnarok, when he's like all covered in lightning and stuff, both eyes are lit up with lightning, and you can't see that like he lost
Okay.
his eye. But then once
Yeah,
you
yeah,
watch
yeah.
the movie, the scene is different because he loses an eye.
Right. You don't want to get plot details taken away because you also see that he doesn't wear it when he's in the puffy coat. You see it when he looks like actually like Doctor Strange. So it could be that he has like a different costume on as a visual effect, way to like not give away details of the movie.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know.
I don't
It's
know.
a good question. Maybe we'll get answered. Maybe he does have the time stone. Because I remember like the plot synopsis for Doctor Strange 2 is like he's trying to still investigate the time stone and the manipulation of time, and then something happens about the multiverse, blah blah blah. So I don't know if he has the time stone, if he has a time stone, if he's able to conjure up a time stone. I don't know.
I don't know. And then the other question I have, which we've already talked about, kind of,
Mhm.
over text, not here. So where was Doctor Strange during WandaVision? Is the question. Because
Yeah.
like, not. I mean, I I don't think people were expecting that question to be answered, in one like
Mhm.
teaser trailer. But I mean, everything. WandaVision is the thing that happens so far out of everything that's been released, excluding Black Widow. I should say that. WandaVision
Mhm.
is the thing that happens right after Endgame. Everything else takes a couple months at least.
Mhm.
Where is he at that point? Because he's just here, casual,
Well,
nonchalant, like making fire. That way, he stays warm in the snow-covered sanctum. But that
right.
he's so like, you know, where is he?
So I think, and I think I understand because like the establishment of the timeline of like where Doctor Strange is at this point. So we've gotten confirmations from Kevin Feige that like the commercials from WandaVision were Doctor Strange's way of like trying to get to Wanda,
Is
trying
that
to
confirmed
make.
now?
I mean, if Kevin Feige said that that was the intention of the commercials, then I'm gonna say that that's true.
But they also went back on the fact that they didn't put him in there, so I wasn't sure if that was like
I mean,
still valid. You know?
because like my thought of like why he wasn't in WandaVision in the canon sort of way in the actual MCU is because I don't think it was something that was challenging for him. Because I think if you remember from the Doctor Strange movie, like he gets a call from his assistant and he like has to flip through all these different like people who are in need of help, but he's like, not interesting, not challenging enough. No, no, no. Oh, that's actually interesting.
Mm.
So I think he has to have some sort of garnered interest in a thing that may challenge him. So like, Wanda doing this stuff in Westview, I don't think he viewed it as a challenge. Like obviously, like he has his radar on there, and that's why he maybe have sent the commercials to her. But I don't think that he considered it much of a challenge. And of course, we fast forward later on to No Way Home, which takes place several months after Endgame, and he finds that being he finds that trying to help Spider-Man eradicate the memories of every single human being on Earth that he is Spider-Man seems like a challenge. And I don't think that he would have performed this spell before for any particular reason. So I think that this is a challenge for him because as Wong said, like it's a dangerous spell. Don't try and test it. He's like, fine, I won't. And he's like, we're gonna do it. And I think that's because he has that confidence in him that he's the master of the mystic arts, that he's able to do a lot of things. And I think like he finds this to be a challenge that he can be able to work and overcome with. And I think that's why he does it. So I think like there's certain things that he like selects as a challenge because again, like he's not going to like if you remember from the comics, like he doesn't interfere with Civil War because it's not like a challenge. He doesn't want to interfere with that kind of stuff. But he like in like the MCU, he goes with like Infinity War because obviously like Thanos is a big like reality shaping being that's going to affect the entire universe.
Yeah,
And I think like that presented a challenge for Doctor Strange to try and deal with.
interesting. But I mean, Wanda is very uh powerful,
Mm-hmm.
right? So I think he would be interested. I mean, he was if he
I,
didn't do the, the commercials, but I mean,
yeah.
I don't know. It's weird. I feel like there's a little bit of like it's an explanation. Like your explanation makes sense. I think it's just not a
Mhm.
satisfying explanation.
Yeah, and I think because I think we need to have No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2 to kind of like tie it all together. And I don't and
Probably.
I recently rewatched WandaVision throughout the whole 9 episodes, and I'm like, it's not answered yet. That was not answered yet. You didn't answer that question. You didn't answer why that didn't happen. There are certain things that like it's weird because like Loki obviously ended on an open book, but like that's because it's having a second season. Falcon Winter Soldier ended clear cut and shut. WandaVision didn't end with all its questions being fully answered, and I think that that's a problem that the show had, and I think it's because of the fact that like WandaVision should have led right up to Doctor Strange 2, but now there's like a year of separation between the two, so there's not like a good continuity between like why did this happen? And it's like, oh, that's why because of Doctor Strange 2. There's no like connection there. And until we get that connection, I don't think that we're gonna have an established answer for
To
that
be,
question.
to be honest, I would have been okay waiting for Wanda to come out if there's other WandaVision to come out. If there's other stuff that they wanted to have get like, make
Mm-hmm.
continuity, like I wouldn't mind waiting a little bit longer because that was the first thing to come out. So like
Mm-hmm.
a couple more weeks, 9 more weeks until Falcon and Winter Soldier, or 10 more weeks, or whatever it was, until that came out, wouldn't
Mm-hmm.
have been that big of a deal. I don't think if it picked up just
No.
with Falcon and Winter Soldier, you know. Now if it was like
Yeah.
Falcon and Winter Soldier came out, then WandaVision was supposed to come out, and then Loki was supposed to come out, and then they decided to pull WandaVision. Then there's this big gap that like, and I think it would have been a little bit more uncomfortable to sit through.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that it was first would have just prolonged it, and I feel like we would have been like, oh yeah, it's okay. Everything's already got pushed back once, so it's one more thing, you know? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know.
I mean, they did it for a reason. They did want a vision first for a reason. Obviously, they probably just wanted to like get it out there so that way they didn't have to sit on it and wait for it.
Mhm.
But like I think they had like the weighted choice of like, do we want to release it now or towards where Doctor Strange is? And I feel like they didn't want to do it towards Doctor Strange because we have like a lot of explanations that still need to be like going through,
Mhm.
you know. And they also have other things that they want to do during that time. And I don't think focusing on one division between Spider-Man No Way Home and Doctor Strange 2 would have helped in the marketing kind of sense.
Probably not. I don't know.
We will get answers. I feel like we will get answers in about 6 months. We will have answers to these questions.
6 months from now, we'll be watching this. Oh, look at those idiots.
Look at these dummies. Like they should have known. It was right there in their face.
Yeah. Oh, just like how we look back at ourselves in high school and we thought about certain physics concepts. um,
But the one thing that is not going to be answered, I don't think readily quickly, is like who the aerospace engineer was for WandaVision. Like I rewatched it, I'm like, that's still not answered, and you haven't answered it yet, and it still pisses me off.
yeah, you're right. They don't answer that at all. They don't allude to it at all.
They don't allude to who the missing person was.
Same people.
Come
That's why
on.
he didn't show up. That's why the astrophysics guy or whatever didn't show up because he was the missing person. He couldn't show up because he was missing.
Yeah, he was gone.
uh,
Um, but yeah, that's my whole breakdown of the Spider-Man No Way Home trailer. Looks really good. I'm excited to see what's to come.
me too.
I know a lot of people are upset that they didn't get to see Toby or Andrew in the trailer, and I'm like, well, I think that's because there's a point. They're not going to reveal a huge plot of the movie
In the first thing.
right in the first trailer. I think they're
Uh-huh.
going to do it towards like, the end. Because I thought about it, because I'm like, if they are really in the movie, right?
Mhm.
We've seen that like all these, like for example, Endgame, like all these characters from all these movies who should have been dead are at this one movie premiere. Why are they at the movie premiere? Oh, probably because they're gonna come back, you know? If Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are in the movie, they should be at the premiere for the movie, right? They should not be like, not there if they're in the movie.
Ostracized.
If they're if they're an important part. So that means that they will have to, at some point, put out there that they are in the movie in a trailer at some point.
Yeah, you'd think. Unless they snuck them into the trailer or to the preview, and then after the movie
But
was
then
done, they'd be
media
like,
people will see them.
they have to wear their Spider-Man costume. Because I'm sure there's fans that are going to be wearing it.
Yeah, but I do
But
think that
that's a
they will
good
come
point.
into a trailer. I just think that it's not going to be the first trailer that they're going to release. I think it's going to be probably
when
one
they
of the
did
last
plan.
trailers.
I agree. One of the last ones. Especially because they didn't plan on releasing this trailer. So, I don't know.
Any final thoughts on this trailer, Billy? I know you just say ooh, ah, and wow, but
Ooh.
I don't know if you have any
Look at
other.
the pretty lights.
There are a lot of pretty lights.
What was that?
There are a lot of pretty lights there in the
There
trailer.
are. Very, very
That's
pretty.
classic.
You actually made me have a question about WandaVision.
Okay.
So, thinking back to the end of the series, the way excuse me, Westview gets built, made, is Wanda goes to where Vision had bought like the land where they were gonna make the house and they're gonna have the life together. Which one is tear jerking at the end, but thinking about it now, yeah, who originally when we at the beginning with the missing persons thing, we thought the missing person was connected to the creation of Westview. Doesn't seem to be the case.
Hmm.
So that's weird. But I guess it's not really a question, it's more of a statement.
Yeah. You know what was funny? You know, a lot of people saw online that like August 23rd was where the heart was in WandaVision on the calendar.
Oh,
And so people were like, they predicted that the No Way Home trailer was coming out. It's like, oh, maybe it's just a coincidence, or maybe it wasn't.
it's also
I
my
don't know.
mom's birthday. So
There you go.
yeah, that's funny. Yeah, but I got nothing else about the trailer. So
We just gotta wait for the next one.
comic book time. Woo woo woo. We need like sound effects for comic book time, like transitions between one thing and another.
So Billy, today is an easy one. Today is only one book.
Oh really?
But yeah,
It's a big one.
but it is a little off the beaten path from your traditional comic books that you usually see. And I'll explain why I got this book.
Wait, let me guess. No, I have no clue.
I know you
Is
don't
it a
have.
Star Wars comic book?
No,
Okay, then I have no clue.
you're kind of
Is it
close.
Star Trek?
No,
Is it The Hobbit? Does The Hobbit even have?
no.
Should I just be quiet?
Think of Star Wars, but not Star Wars. Think of an alternate.
Battlestar.
No, think of an alternate version of saying Star Wars. Not like, don't think of Star Wars like the movies. Think of like, and just maybe I should just say
You should
this.
just tell me, because I might not even know what this is.
This is a Star Spangled War Stories,
I would
number
not have got this.
151.
Okay. Very off the beaten path.
Yes, it's a war comic book. It's a little different.
Okay, so why'd you get it then? There's got to be something with it that's.
So, if you'll see on the cover, it has the Unknown Soldier. This
Captain
is
America.
the first full appearance of the Unknown Soldier. It's kind of weird. There's weird like first full appearances, first cameos. I'm gonna call this the first full appearance of the Unknown Soldier in this title. That's what I'm gonna call it as.
Who's the unknown soldier?
The Unknown Soldier is like a interesting DC character. You know about like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier in like Arlington, Virginia? You don't? Oh god. So there's a tomb that every president goes to on Memorial Day and on Inauguration Day to symbolize all the fallen soldiers that have not
Oh,
made it back. There's the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. In
okay.
this
So,
comic book,
so
and
that's
a
like
couple of
it's okay. I get.
yeah.
Okay.
So in this comic book, there's like in the series of like war stories, there's a couple of instances where the unknown soldier comes about, and the unknown soldier is basically like a representation of like all the unknown soldiers that we, have lost in certain wars and stuff. So this is like the first appearance of the character unknown soldier. I don't think he has a name in the comic books.
Okay.
It's not associated with the unknown soldier, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. It's just his own character. He has a first appearance and an origin and everything else. So
Interesting.
yeah.
Very cool. It's definitely different. I never would have guessed
Yeah.
that. It's kind of cool though.
I know.
It's like oh, you're right. It's off the beaten path, but it seems like a cool collector's item.
Yeah, the Unknown Soldier is one of the more popular characters in DC War comics, I would say. It's a key issue nonetheless. So,
Very cool.
yeah. That's it.
That's it.
That's
Well,
it.
I think that one was unique enough to fill its own spot.
Yeah.
Right. Came with a nice
Think
little
so.
story, nice little history lesson. I
Mhm.
guess history, kind of history.
History, yeah. I'm glad that you were aware what the Unknown Soldier is, like the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier. Like, I was worried that you weren't gonna know, and I was like, oh god.
Well, I kind of didn't at first, but
Until like
I
I
just didn't know what it
elaborate a
was
little
called.
bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's our show. I hope you enjoyed our breakdown of this trailer. I hope you enjoyed us talking about geeking out about Spider-Man. I know I enjoy it. If you do like the video, which you probably do, like that video down below.
Yeah, if
Hit
you
the
made it this
subscription
far,
button
right?
right also down there as well. And subscribe to our Instagram, which we'll also put down in the description as well. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.